Support your Hobbit hobby.
Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube video. As always, you're here with James.
I'm Jeremy.
I think I'll speak for now. And Jamie. And as you can see, we're going to be doing another one in our series of videos, which is covering the Hobbit strategy battle game, Desolation of Smaug releases. You can also see now that we've got two of these, and that's because we've just been somewhere very exciting. Oh, goodies. Lots of goodies.
and lots of rule books for some reason.
Lots and lots of rule books. Well, some of these things are actually, we're going to be using some for unboxings, others for prizes on the channel later on down the line, so keep watching, keep supporting, and you never know, they might come up. And also some for the 12th to 13th of April 2014. You will be getting a video about that event soon.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome. Now, we've already done the initial thoughts video, we've already done the scenarios, the journey scenarios. Yep, and now we're going to move on to the games in Mirkwood. Now, this is going to be in two parts, but in the same video.
Yeah.
First up, we're going to be looking at
the new terrain rules and what we think their impact is going to be. That's the brand new rulebook.
Oh,
does smell nice.
Fitness for winners.
So for games in Mirkwood, basically when recreating the battles of Mirkwood, we find that aiming to cover about 33% to 50% of the battlefield with groves of trees help it to give it that heavily wooded look. And I think as a wood elf player that every board should be covered in woods. If I see a board with woods on it, it's a good game.
I wouldn't be surprised that when Jamie tries to beat my all-mounted cavalry force that he's lost 2-3 times in a row. Just thought I'd mention that. It wouldn't surprise me if he tried to, you know, include some of these kind of trees and.
I don't know. We'll have to see what they.
Yeah, what the rules are. It looks like they've got some really interesting rules. Now, a comment that you might have seen in the previous videos is that we made an observation. We compared that idea of what would count as something that happens in 40k and in
Warhammer. So in 40k you can have things like a magical forest or magical ruins where you roll dice to start the game. On a 3 it's a magical ruin, and wizards in there generate an extra power dice. I don't know if that's correct, that's just something I've just thought of out the air. I'm assuming that these will have a very similar sort of thing. Like you can see on the dice chart here that you roll dice for the ancient grove of trees. On a 1 to 3 it's a normal wood with no additional rules. On a 4 it's a spider infested wood, which we talked about in the last one. That was mentioned, wasn't it? 5 is a wrathful wood, so I assume it takes some like maybe d6 strength 3 hits or something there. And a haven wood, which
we're going to go through these 3 now. It looks cool.
I just peeked at what a haven wood was, and oh my god,
it looks very, very cool. Now we are going to start off. We're going to start off with spider infested wood. So, like Jamie says, first of all, if you want to include these in the game, it recommends that you roll to see what woods count as, just like you would do in it is in 40k. I'm sure.
40k, it is in 40k.
On Warhammer, and you roll and you say, right, this piece of difficult terrain is this. It counts as this.
Yeah.
So if you want to have ancient groves, you roll and. You know, we see what comes up. If you roll a 4, we get spider-infested wood.
Yeah.
Talked about this last time. What does spider-infested wood do?
So at the end of each evil move phase, roll a d6 for each spider-infested wood, and on the natural roll of a 6, place a single Mirkwood spider, if you have one, within the spider-infested wood, but not within 1 inch of any good model. If this Mirkwood spider joins the evil player's force for the duration of the battle, it cannot move or charge until it appears, but it can otherwise act normally. If there are more than one evil player, roll off to decide which evil player's force the Mirkwood spider joins. So that's, let's say you're both playing evil.
Yeah.
It might join one force or the other, depending on
quite
which
cool.
One. Yeah.
I think that's really cool. It's a little bit like the scribe for goblins.
Yeah. The only question I would think about straight off the top of my head is how does it work for breaking? Does it count as a model for your break limit, or is it just literally?
How does it work for the scribe? Has that been?
How does it work for the scribe? It's when
I'm sure Owen's checked.
I have to double check. But
Serial thief Owen, he brings Goblin Town, which is gorgeous, isn't it? It's lovely, lovely to look at. Really nice guy as well.
I think the rules for being broken are when the number of models that are dead exceed half your break limit. So let's say you've got 30 models, your break limit is halved, is 15, so to exceed that you've got to be on 16. But let's say the Goblin Scribe brought on 16 models and they all died, you'd be broken because your dead pile is...
Must be the same for this. Must be.
Yeah.
I presume so.
If that spider dies, it counts towards your break limit.
Now the fun thing about this is exactly that. It's fun. It's something different, and you know, we've got to embrace things like that, really, haven't we? Trying to sort of move the game forward in a kind of creative way. You don't have to do this, but it gives you that option.
Because evil need all the help they can get, apparently.
But the thing is, if you roll for these, the good thing about the Mirkwood woods from a quick glance is that 1 to 3 it's a normal wood. 4, 5, and 6, you know,
it looks like evil, neutral, good.
Yeah, evil, neutral, good. So there is that kind of risk that it can go either way. And if you've got multiple woods, then you could have multiple different ones.
Oh yeah, and swing around either way. So the next one is a Wrathful Wood. Now, any model who starts their move phase even partially within a Wrathful Wood must roll a d6 if they choose to move that turn. On a roll of a 1 or 2, they have awoken a Wrathful Tree and immediately suffer a Strength 6 hit.
That's awesome!
Models with the Woodland Creature special rule will only awaken the tree on a roll of a 1, and if the model survives, it's free to continue through the wood as normal. Models that do not move through a Wrathful Wood are in no danger of waking that tree. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think in that situation you would avoid moving through woods.
Unless you're wood elves and you're willing to take that risk.
You don't really want to get stuck in a wood, do you? You might pass through them, but even then, that's if you want to take a strength 6 hit, is it worth?
Especially when you got your heroes in there with elven cloaks and they're trying to stay out of danger.
Yeah, it's going to kind of maybe stop that from happening.
And then the third wood, which is the one that I sort of got a bit giddy over when I glanced at it, is the Haven Wood. Now, evil models suffer a -1 penalty to their courage value whilst even partially within a Haven Wood. So great with Thranduil casting the Terrifying Aura of Dismay to make his elves terrifying. They're going to be really low courage. And good models with the Woodland Creature rule receive a special +1 bonus to their defense value. So think of those Palace Guard in the woods, in Haven Woods, their defense 7.
Fight 6.
Fight 6.
Within Thranduil.
Yeah. So they are going to be rock hard in a Haven Wood.
That is nice.
And they are also resistant to
Treebeard!
Yeah.
Becomes defense 9.
So does Bayon.
Bayon as a bear.
Bayon in Havenwood. So that's in that first scenario. That must be why you got that bonus.
Yeah,
he's going to become defense 9.
And it becomes defense 6 when he's just a normal dude.
Just a normal guy, yeah.
Which is much better.
Much better than defense 5. And also, he causes terror as that bear. So in the first scenario, alone in the woods, everything's going to get -1 to charge him. So he's going to get much more freedom to move around. So yeah.
I like that. I'm really looking forward to playing some of these.
Yeah.
Some of them, you know, if you get a Wrathful Wood, you're going to be. I think you're going to try.
Cautious.
You're going to be really cool. I'm not sure whether you'll. I wouldn't risk. I wouldn't do the risk. I think the risk outweighs the benefit.
I know. If once you've got into that wood, and let's say you get in there with a couple of guys and they don't get hurt for wood elves personally, if they're my bowmen, I'm more than happy to put them in that wood. Because once you've got in there, you set up your shooting position. If anything's going to come into you, they've got to try and maybe take a strength 6 hit on the way in. Yeah,
but any model who starts their move phase in there, so every turn that you're in there, you would take a d6.
No. Yeah, if they choose to move that turn.
Or if they choose, oh right, so you can be in there static.
Once they walk in, stay still. They just stand still for the entire time.
It's like a defensible position, doesn't it?
A very defensible position. Get those Rangers of Mirkwood in there. They all can't wear an elven cloak. I know that's another rule releasing early, but if they're partially obscured, you're not going to be able to touch them. They're going to shoot you until you go into that wood after them.
I quite like it. I quite like these.
I'm thinking of ways to use them already.
I quite like this Ancient Groves idea. I like the fact that you can roll for each individual sort of wood on the board if you want to. 1 to 3, normal, so 50% is just going to be a normal wood, which I think is right. But then the fact that you've got something which helps evil on a 4, something which is neutral on a 2, and then something
that helps
good on a 6, I think is really interesting. Really, really interesting. You get different woods doing different things. So what do we think about that introduction?
I like them. That'd be good.
I really like them. You can see how they tie in with the scenarios.
For tournament play, I'm not sure if you would include them. I guess you could do. As long as they're included on every table that has woods, as long as everyone adheres to it, then I don't see a problem with it. They do it in fantasy tournaments, they do it in 40k tournaments, so...
why not for us?
Why not for us?
Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And if you've got your beautiful, beautiful Desolation of Smaug books, guys, get them out, have a little read, and then comment below and let us know what you think. Again, this is a conversation. We want to hear what you've got to say about it. Now, one of the things that we've been really, and this is like a bonus, I don't think anybody expected this part.
No, these 3 new scenarios.
Yeah, now it does say the 3 new Mirkwood scenarios,
Yeah.
so they're quite specific to what happens in the book, but they are points game scenarios.
Yeah. So you can play them with any force.
So it's likely that you might see these popping up in tournaments, or at the very least we think one of them.
At least one of them, yeah.
At least one of them.
If we just stop there, where are we up to?
So as you can see, guys, we've had to adjust position with my bookshelf in the background, but as you can see, we've strategically put Desolation of Smaug releases all down the back of the bookshelf. Gives you something to look at instead of just Jamie's pretty face. Now we are on to the Mirkwood scenarios. These are the point scenarios, and we're going to start off with the rescue.
Yeah. Now we've not actually read these at all, so we're going to be going through them again, just like the journey scenarios were. So bear with us if we just, we'll try and edit out if we start to read, but yeah, bear with us.
Yeah. So these are points games, so you can do this any points value that you want, from 100 points to 1,000 plus points. Sweet spot for points games tends to be around the 500 mark we discussed.
Yeah.
Some people like playing at bigger points values, so they're getting the big heroes and monsters.
Big heroes and monsters, and people prefer the small points value, so you can use your unnamed heroes and captains and sort of
And also you get a
create
lot of
your own
games.
story, yeah, and you get more games than you in any time. So layout, they suggest that if you want to create the look and feel of Mirkwood, to use lots of ancient groves, but you don't have to. This can be played on any board. And that's going to be the same, I assume, for all 3 of them.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to be releasing any sort of new. Do you reckon we'll get any new terrain?
I was actually just thinking this, if they're going to release like an ancient grove terrain piece. I don't think they will. I think they'll stick with their
the Citadel Woods.
Citadel Woods, because they kind
they
of
look
fit the theme.
kind of like that anyway, don't they?
Yeah.
Might have to pick some of those up for our tournament.
Yeah. Starting positions. Both players roll a d6. The player with the highest result chooses to be the attacker or the defender. The defender first places his leader's warband within 6 inches of the centre of the board.
So this is the board. Imagine that this screen is the board. I'm going to draw it for you. So 6 inches in the middle is where your defender is.
The attacker then places all of his warbands, one at a time, on the board. No attacking model can be placed within 12 inches of the centre of the board or within 12 inches of any board edge.
I'm not hypnotising them here.
Yeah.
So there's like a definite zone.
Within 12 inches of any board edge, or more than 6 inches from their warband's captain. Well, that's the setup for normal warbands.
Yeah.
The defenders then place all of his remaining models and warbands must be deployed within 6 inches of a board edge, and no model can be deployed more than 6 inches away from the captain and their warband, as you would expect. So the attackers have a very sort of concentrated area of where their models can be. The attacker gets priority first turn. You don't need to roll for it from then onwards. Oh, sorry, you then roll from it from then onwards.
Now, straight away, I'll just cut in there. From a starting position point of view, remember we're relating this a lot to whether you're going to see these in tournaments. This puts a big advantage immediately on the attacker, not just because they go first, but because we see it in what's the game that you played Steve in, and where you get Maelstrom.
It was not taking hold ground.
That was hold ground, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you see what can happen when one warband is isolated against an army.
And you can concentrate the whole of an army against a single warband. That is a massive advantage in, if that happens to you in Maelstrom battle, that kind of randomness of that happening as well can really give it. And this is effectively that, but without the randomness, apart from whether you're going to be attacker or defender.
Yeah, which is never a nice thing to be, because suddenly you have to start planning your army to play this scenario. So you think, well, my General's Warband has to be a rock-hard unit who can withstand a beating.
Yeah.
And you probably want some cavalry in another warband who's not your general, so that if you...
So Sons of Ale, 12-inch movement.
If you end up being the defender, then you can quickly get some troops in there to help.
Yeah. But you're going to need to do. And because of that, there is going to be that element of, well, I didn't win this tournament because
I was stuck being the defender for that scenario.
Which gives people like me a lot more excuses, other than sort of playing on Goblin Town scenery and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
can I just say really quickly, I really like having the thing in the background.
Yeah, it
looks really cool.
It's good.
What do you think? If you think having this bookcase in the background with things is good for videos, give us a thumbs up.
VP wise, so victory points to see who wins the game. The game ends at 25%, like quite a lot of scenarios do. The attacker scores 1 victory point for causing 1 or more wounds on the enemy leader. Wounds prevented by successful refills do not count, and if the attacker slays the enemy leader, he instead scores 3 VPs. And the defender scores 1 VP if the attacking force is broken, and if the defending force is still unbroken, he gains 3 VPs.
So that kind of balances it a little bit, because the defender has got more... it balances it slightly, I'm not sure what to get, but you've got the opportunity to get effectively 4 more victory points than...
No.
Yeah.
The attacker scores 1 VP for causing 1 or more wounds on the enemy leader. If the defender wounds the enemy leader, they don't get anything, because that's the attacker scoring. So both have a maximum of 3 VPs available to score. And I would say that the attacker has a much easier chance of killing a general or wounding them than the defender breaking the attacking force.
Oh, he instead scores 3. Yes, they've both got a maximum of 3 that they can get. So the goal as defender is to protect your...
To protect your general for... Jesus, yeah.
So it's to stop your... Yeah, so be all on end all. Keep him alive.
Keep him alive, keep him healthy.
What kind of models are going to be good at that? What kind of war bands are we going to see?
If you are unfortunate enough to be the defender, you kind of want your general on a horse to either, 1, get away, and just get the hell out of dodge.
Yeah, heroic combat.
Heroic combat,
so potentially, do one.
And just get out there. Things like a wizard would be good for that one, so you can get things closer to you, because you're... Or transfix stuff to...
Yeah.
You know, stuff.
Things that have got...
very high defense.
Terror and high defense.
Terror. Or depending on terrain, you know, you might want... You want mobility. You need to get out of it. Mobility and survivability are your 2 key things for your general here.
So what you need, really, is you need Aemma, Knight of Pelennor, and 12 Sons of Ale.
Well, I was actually thinking that they would work quite well as the general's warband for this, because the attacker gets priority. I assume they're going to move forwards.
Yep.
And then you've got the
reaction. It's their prerogative to move forward.
Yeah. And then you've got the reaction, the ability to react to that, and you can charge where you need to and get out of there.
Well, I'm bringing next year.
Yeah.
Well, we can give it a go. We can see what it's like. If you'd like to see us, I don't have 12 Sons of Ale, but I'll happily be donated 8. If you can donate 8 to me, then I'll be very happy.
Because I'm always asking for models on every bloody video. Special rules for this one is protect the leader. All models in the defending leader's warband have the bodyguard special rule.
Cool.
And this will automatically be the general that they're defending. It's not going to be someone in the other half of the army.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty cool.
It's decent, but I think it's very, very beneficial to be the attacker in this scenario.
It is if you've not tailored for this scenario, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll have to play test it.
I think just in general, I think the attacker's got the big objective. Simply because when you're the enemy general, focusing your entire army on one model is an easier objective than breaking an army, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree with you actually. So big advantage to the attacker there. So whether that will be balanced in tournaments or not, I'm not sure it will. I'm not sure it will. But fun to play.
Yeah, yeah. I think
for friendly games, it'd be really
the way to do it in a tournament would be typically, you know, you play it as the attacker in one game and you play it as the defender in the other, and that's the way to play that game in scenario. That scenario in tournaments. Okay,
so the next scenario that we've got is Blockade.
Do you want to describe this one?
Yeah, so each player chooses his force, so again it's a points game, so you pick what point armies that you want, and the layout, just exactly whatever you want. With Lord of the Rings strategy battle game and the Hobbit strategy battle game, it is recommended that you use a reasonable amount of terrain, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was it? Is it 33% they recommend, or?
Typically 33% to half of the board in terrain is what Games Workshop recommend for this.
So again, this is an attacker or defender orientated scenario. So let's see if it has as much of an impact as Rescue on this game. Both players roll a d6. Player with the highest result chooses to be the attacker or the defender. The defender selects one of the short board edges to be his starting. So to be his. Starting with the attacker, players alternate selecting a warband and deploying it.
Yeah.
Okay, so fair enough. So you're playing long.
You're playing long board edges.
If you're doing a 6x4.
Yeah.
Obviously,
4x4 makes no difference.
4x4 makes no difference. I wonder if that has a...
I think it will have a major effect on how the game is played. Cause
yeah, is it effectively like a game of Bulldog? This?
Essentially, it looks like it, yeah.
If you don't know what Bulldog is, it's effectively a game where like you get some people in the middle and they stop people from running from A to B, and you get attacked and you end up being. So I wonder if it kind of works like that.
From the objective, it certainly looks that way.
Yeah. If defender's deployment zone is decided as follows. If the defending player's leader is mounted on a cavalry or monstrous cavalry mount, or is a war Mumak, sorry, his deployment zone is anywhere up to 6 inches from his table edge. If the defender's player's leader is foot, his deployment zone is anywhere up to 24 inches.
Wait, let me read that again. Defender player, so... You go into it, sorry, I'm just going to read through here.
Basically, an attacker can deploy along any board edge in contact with it, apart from where the defenders are. And so, again, this is the screen. Your attackers can deploy along the edge here, and your defenders, if they're infantry, they can deploy 24 inches.
Yeah.
So 24 inches on a 6x4 will be about there, won't it?
Yes.
On a 4x4.
Yeah.
It's half, isn't it? So can deploy anywhere there. And I think it's effectively, without looking at it so far, it's because your defenders have got to try and get across.
Yeah.
And your attackers are trying to stop that from happening coming on the edges. That's pretty much it. Okay. The defender has priority in the first turn on this one.
Yeah.
As opposed to the attacker.
The person trying to get across. Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. The objectives. The game lasts until the end of a turn in which one or both of the following has happened. Okay, so this is key, so listening for this. The defender's leader is slain or moves off the short board edge opposite his deployment zone. So the leader has got to escape and the attackers have got to try and kill him. The attacking force has been reduced to a quarter, 25% of its starting models or less. At the end of the game, the force that has scored the most VPs wins the game. If both players have the same number of victory points, the game is a draw. Victory points are scored as follows.
There are victory points for this, yeah.
Yeah, so the VPs, the game ends with those above things, and then the VPs are, the defender scores 3 victory points if his leader moves off the short table edge opposite his deployment zone. The attacker scores 1 victory point for causing 1 or more wounds on the enemy leader. Oh, wounds prevented by a successful fate roll do not count. If the attacker slays the enemy leader, he instead scores 3 victory points. That's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Each player scores 1 victory point if the opposing force is broken. 3
if they're unbroken.
Yeah. So how is this weighted? Who has the advantage here?
I think the defenders have the advantage here, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially if they end up playing on a 4x4 board, as most Lord of the Rings and Hobbit games are. If your hero sets up on foot, as is probably a decent thing to do,
you're going to be halfway across.
You're going to be halfway across the board already. If you're on horse, you're actually at a bit of a disadvantage almost.
Yeah, you are.
Because you set up 6 boxes and you're going to move and move and...
I'm going to do 10, how many moves? Let's see what's possible on a 4x4.
You move 6 inches on, so you got 6, plus 10 is 16, plus 10 is 26, plus 10, that's 3 turns, is 36, so it takes you 4 turns either way to get off, I think.
Oh right, okay, so it's reasonably good.
However, setting that 6 inches back gives the defender more time to close that gap in the middle.
Yep.
The way I read it as well, if you don't have to place your general's warband first, so, you can place warbands wherever you want, and then you can place the general last, so you know fully well the general's going to be well secure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems... I think it's way more towards the defender, purely because once they walk their general off, if they manage to get it there, they've won. They get the 3 VPs, the game ends. Chances are in 4 turns you've got to break an opponent. That's not likely. In my... besides against the Monmouth game, that was awful. But yeah, breaking an opponent in 4 turns is hard, and killing a general in 4 turns is hard, especially when you're so spread out along the board.
Yeah.
I think the defender has the, unlike the attacker, but the defender has a bonus in this one. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Very much so.
Very, very interesting. You'd be a bit gutted if you turned up to a tournament and you ended up being
the defender.
The defender in this one and the attacker in this one, because then you've got a clear disadvantage.
I think the only way to play it in tournaments is to play it. You do both. You are both sides of it, so your army can't be tailored to doing one job.
Now, I mean, just a suggestion from a tournament point of view, because it would be nice to sort of have these included in. Would they be worth less points in total, sort of contributing towards the tournament? Is there a way of doing that, or
no? I think not doing it fairly. I think you would. I think because the objectives of each game are so different, I think you could get away with playing each scenario twice because you're playing. Essentially, as a player, you're playing a different scenario each time because your objectives are different.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah, I mean, let's say for example you did a Desolation of Smaug. Just use the scenario from here.
Sourcebook.
Yeah, you would be attacker, defender in one, attacker, defender in another, and then maybe play Seize the Prize twice, or maybe play Seize the twice and then Lords of Battle.
Yeah.
And you've got six
games. Even for a 5-game day, I think 5 games is a reasonable amount of games in a day.
I wonder if we should think about that.
That could be an idea, actually.
If we should think about that for our first day.
Yeah.
If we did that on the first day, put 1 on top of that, then we've got 6 on.
Well,
no.
5 works for my schedule.
Yeah, we were doing 4.
We
were doing 4, then 3, weren't we? We could do 5, and then we could do.
We could do the 4 new ones on the first on day 1.
Yeah.
And then Seize the Prize. And then I'll choose 2 others that are relatively balanced.
Well, that are different. You could do, that are relatively balanced. So Lords of Battle and To the Death, maybe.
Well, I'm doing victory point difference, so I want to kind of cap the number they can score because I don't want someone to win like 70-0.
This is you are privy to a board meeting between the GBHL team because we are going to be running a tournament. We're going to be releasing details soon. Just mark in your diaries 12th to 13th, wherever in the world you are. It's going to be a great weekend. So the next scenario that we're going to look at is Seize the Prize. Seize the Prize. This is the final of the 3 new scenarios that we've been discussing in this particular video.
This is the one I quite like the look of and expect to be in a few tournaments in the next year.
Yeah, certainly will be in our tournament. Not that we're running a tournament or anything, but 12th to 13th. Okay, so again, it's a point scenario, so you pick your armies as you normally would, you agree a points value, and you go for it.
Yeah. So, starting positions are sort of typical to the ones in your Lord of the Rings source books, except you set up sort of, if you imagine the board again as the screen, within 12 inches of the board edge, and you take it in turns, I assume, yes, to be...
Yeah, you roll a d6, player with the highest result chooses a deployment zone, he then selects a warband, and you take it in turns.
You alternate, don't you?
You alternate putting the warband in, which is nice and fair.
Yeah. Priority, again, is as normal. It's not given to any one person in particular. You roll for it, and from then onwards it's the same.
And the key thing, that in the middle of this board
is your objective.
Yeah, your artifact marker. Yeah. Okay. So the objectives. The game lasts until either a model carrying the artifact carries it off the board via any table edge, or both forces have been reduced to a quarter.
So you can keep fighting with 0%. Well, the game can just keep going on because if you break your opponent and they don't get that prize off, their force can run away and that prize can be left on the battlefield.
Brutal, nice. It's cool. More chances of tabling opponents in this kind of game. At which point the force that has scored the most victory points wins the game. Cool. So the victory points are scored for the following.
You get 500 points for taking the artifact off a table edge.
Nice.
Yep.
5 points, that's good.
5 VPs, that's a big swing.
That is a big swing. You score 3 victory points if a model in your force is carrying the artifact at the end of the game but has not moved off the table with it. So that's still pretty good.
Yeah. And you score 1 victory point if at least one of your models is within 3 inches of the artifact marker at the end of the game and there are no enemy models within 3 inches. So I guess that's sort of like, let's say the model carrying the objective runs away, but you've got a guy running after him next to it, he'll score that 1 VP. So you've got a maximum of 5 in this scenario, and there's no other VPs that can be scored.
So it really is about that.
It's sort of like a 5-0, 3-0, 1-0 is your scores for this one.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah. Special rules for the artifact. The prize must be dug out of the soil before it can be carried anywhere. A model on foot who is in base contact with the artifact marker at the end of its move phase may attempt to free it. On a roll of a 4+, the artifact has been freed and is picked up by that model. Only 1 model from each side may attempt this each turn, and once it has been freed, the artifact is treated as a light object, which means it can be passed around between players once per turn.
So no good when it's in the ground to my old cavalry Rohan, but once it's been done because of expert rider, I can...
Well, no, it's not even expert rider can do it in this one.
No, but I mean once it's been...
once it's been carried.
Once it's been dug out of the ground.
Yeah.
So only a foot model can dig this out. So
yeah.
unlucky all cavalry Rohan players.
That's wait for the enemy to do it and then charge it.
Yeah.
Just stand there waiting, like, come on.
Yeah, come on. And I like it because it's drawing it's drawing everything to that centre.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got to scrap for it, and then you've got to go for it. It's encouraging. The scenario encourages a scrap. Yeah. A real scrap.
Interestingly as well, the only question I raise here with it is something that's not been clearly described. Is that who rolls first to see if they find it? Usually it has to be an unengaged enemy model, an unengaged model who frees it. But let's say we both run in towards it.
Mm-hmm.
We're
both in contact.
We're both in contact with it. Who gets to try and dig it up first?
So hopefully we'll get an
FAQ or a rata to sort that one out.
But on the whole, I think that this is probably going to be the one that you're going to see the most in added to tournaments, because there are already some scenarios that have been quite tournament specific, which are reasonably similar. Yeah. But this kind of takes away some of the randomness.
The randomness of it. Like, the whole ground's very similar, where you fight over the middle. However,
this can move.
A couple of bad rolls can really put you out of the game, and you know, at a tournament you want everything to be as fair as possible. You want that random element, but that happens in a game as itself. You want your setup to be pretty equal.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be diminished from the start. Yeah. From the start. So those are the 3 scenarios from the Hobbit rulebook. Let us know what you think. Have a good read. Make sure you've got your
lovely smelling,
sweet smelling new Desolation of Smaug books at the ready when you're listening to this. Hope you've been listening to it and you've been poring over different details. And again, let us know what you think about each of the scenarios. You're certainly going to see these in one form or another.
Yeah, we'll hopefully be doing some back reps with them we'll
test
them out.
We'll play test them, and then during our post-battle back rep breakdowns,
we'll talk about potential changes or what works really well.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for those videos. And next up, I believe we're moving on to the new lists, heroes and villains. So wait out for that video, guys. Happy strategy battle gaming.